Alright, hey guys, Extra here, doing another video. I'm recording this a day after Pissmas. It was a pretty fun tournament to watch. Congrats to Jix for not losing to Toonlink. Very cool. So in this video, I wanted to go over something that I think a lot of Ultimate players, I'm not going to say struggle with necessarily, but I think it's something that keeps them kind of hard stuck, especially Ultimate players who got good in Ultimate, and as opposed to like being a top player in Smash 4. And I think it's something that keeps the gap between the Smash 4 vets who tend to top 8 majors and the sort of up-and-coming Ultimate vets who are obviously, like, some of them are really, really talented. It sort of keeps that gap wide enough that they don't really see, like, those breakout tournaments, those really successful tournaments. And this isn't a reaction to Pissmas or anything. This is just something that I've wanted to make a video on for quite a while. And it's also going to be a bit more of like a theory video, so it might be a little bit harder to follow along with, but we'll see how it goes. So I wanted to talk about pace and tempo, and these aren't really like things that have strict set definitions in the Smash community, so I'm going to define them for you. So I'm going to say pace is the general like speed that you play a set, and tempo is the timings of your like specific actions. So think of pace as like the macro of a set, and tempo as more of the like micro timings of a set. And a lot of the Smash Ultimate players, the pace that they play the match at, so that's the overall macro, is just fast. It's all about like speed, and that's something that sort of goes even at like the top Australian level. It's very much dictated by being fast, and at a top like international level, we see people playing like really fast. And I think something that people don't really appreciate is that those top players who often started playing in Brawl, maybe not necessarily competing at the top level, but they usually played it. And then going from Brawl to Smash 4, there was a gradual increase in the pace that you needed to play to be like really successful. And then from Smash 4 to Ultimate, the pace once again sort of increased, like you needed to play faster, you needed to make decisions faster. And so a lot of those players, they're used to sort of, like, they learnt the game by playing slower when, like, I guess you could say decision making mattered a bit more because there was like less options that you could just kind of do, if that makes sense. You weren't doing options at the same speed, so the options that you picked had to be like a little bit more thought out. And then you go into Smash 4, where you could play really fast and sort of overwhelm people like that, especially with certain characters like Bayo with Fox, with Cloud towards the end, Diddy, Sheik. They all required like pretty quick decision making, but there were also your slower matchups like Sonic and Rosa, and sometimes people just like wanted to play slow and had a lot of success doing that. And so the players who played Smash 4 and then went to Ultimate, they're sort of gradually learning to like speed up their playstyle, but their decision making is also like evolving as well. So while they are like playing faster, the quality of their decision making is also increasing. And I think a big problem I see from the Ultimate players who are getting really good and playing really fast is that they're sort of like skipping to the end almost. It's like they're not starting from like that sort of 2-3 speed of Brawl and then going to like that 5-6 speed of Smash 4, and then once again going from that to like an 7 or 8, I would say, in Ultimate. They're going straight from 0 to 7, and their decision making is not quite following along with that. So a lot of the time, playing at this like super fast pace that some of these really talented players play at, their decision making, their brain is not keeping up with their hands, with what is actually like going on the screen. So with regards to the pace of the match, like they're sort of playing the pace fast, that naturally affects your tempo, the timing that you do everything, in my opinion at least. Because when you're just focusing on playing like fast, 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 and you're sort of putting your decision making on the back burner, then you kind of just sort of settle in to doing things at the same timing. Like, let's say you're in an up-close situation and you and your opponent are standing next to each other just holding a shield because you are both like up close and you're both kind of scared. If you're focusing completely on just playing fast, you aren't going to want to spend a lot of time in shield because that's not what you do. You got to play fast. You got to play like sitting in shield is bad, right? Because that's like playing slow. So you might just like pick an option immediately, whether that's roll or spot dodge or just attack out of shield or whatever. And your opponent, who is a little bit more composed, a little bit more comfortable playing defensively, instead just sits in shield, waits for you to pick an option, and then hits you. And this example is one thing that I want people who play at this really fast pace to sort of watch out for, and I think is a real indicator of something that the Smash 4 vets really take advantage of, which is, are you always acting first? Are you always the person who commits to a button first, who commits to like rolling or spot dodging out of shield first? And this isn't just in up-close situations, that's the example I gave obviously, but this can just sort of be in neutral as well. Like for example, if I am playing against, let's say, a Roy player, and I'm, like throughout the set, I'm watching them and I'm noticing that they are always the one to attack first in neutral. If we're at like a mid-range, let's say I'm here, the Roy player is here, sorry, I kind of mirrored on the camera, and the Roy player, is this the Roy player? Whatever. Okay, this is the Roy player now, and he is just committing to like nairs and fairs, and they're spaced moves, so it's difficult for me to punish them. But if I am watching this and I'm noticing that that Roy player is always attacking first, then a lot of the ambiguity in neutral of what will this player do is kind of solved already for me. He does have a lot of things he can do in that situation, like Roy has a lot of burst options, his movement is really strong, but I am never worried about will he or won't he do something. Because in my head, I know he's going to do something, because that's the kind of player he is. He's playing at a really fast pace, and in doing so his timings are like very similar, and so that unpredictability of I have no idea what this player is going to do is kind of lost, because I know he is going to do something, and I don't have to like do anything to force that. Hopefully that makes sense. So I think that's one of the things to watch out for, especially as an Ultimate player. And the other thing is just having the ability to like be confident in slowing the game down. A lot of people, they try to match the pace of these top players like DD and JDizzle, and some characters just, some characters aren't going to be able to do that. An example I'd give is Fox. As a Fox player, or playing against Fox rather, I'll give the playing against Fox example first. It's very difficult to beat a strong Fox player by just being faster than them, because their character's toolkit, their strengths, lend themselves to being fast. They have insane frame data. They're not the fastest character on the ground, but they have a lot of unreactable options, and their full hop fast fall in particular is very hard to contest, and they're extremely good at whiff punishing you as well. So if you are playing a like naturally slower character, like the movement specs aren't as good, or they're like your frame data isn't as good, it's going to be very hard to beat Fox by like trying to match their pace or outpace them. So in those kinds of matchups, it's necessary to slow it down. But from a Fox player's perspective, there are some matchups that you are just not going to be able to win by just playing fast. I think Game & Watch is the main one. I honestly don't think the Game & Watch Fox matchup is like that bad, but a player like Light would just get hard stuck basically against Meister over and over, because for ages he was just like the fast player, like he beat you by trying to outpace you. But Game & Watch's upbeat out of shield is just way too good. His buttons are just way bigger. He's too strong in like up close situations basically, and you like actually get super hard punished for just doing like regular Fox things and not being correct. So as a Fox player, you really can't beat Game & Watch by just like pushing that like I'm going to play at a super fast pace and just sort of hope to overwhelm him. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Getting a bit more into tempo, I think the main thing is just making sure that you aren't, well, for one, you're not getting parried. Getting parried is a great sign that you're playing, like your tempo is just the same thing over and over. If I'm getting parried constantly, then that's my sign that I need to start like delaying things a little bit more. Just like going from doing a high aerial to a low aerial, or going from doing a low aerial to a tomahawk, I don't know, tomahawk F-tilt or something. And I think the easiest thing to think of tempo is just to think of it as waiting another beat. Like, you don't have to, like, stand around and do nothing. I think a lot of people confuse defensive game, which is just sort of like, I'm just going to sit back and, like, not do anything and sort of hope the opponent, like, doesn't hit me. But instead, when you would, like, in a situation where you're like, I would do something immediately. Like, let's say you're doing, like, a dash dance, like dash forward, dash forward, dash back in neutral, just because you don't really know what to do. Instead of just doing that, you dash back and then turn around. And then you stand there for a sec, and you look at your opponent, see what they're doing, and then you dash in. I've sort of said that in a very sort of extended way, but I think it doesn't have to be. Just like a split second, sort of think of it as like a half second. You're not waiting ages, you're just waiting a beat, I guess. So I think, yeah, the main thing with mixing up your tempo is that if you're not comfortable with playing like slightly slower, it doesn't have to be like standing still or whatever, or just like not doing anything. But if you're not comfortable with like setting a slightly slower pace, then you're going to have a lot of trouble with actually mixing up your timings. And I think one of the main takeaways from playing at a slightly slower pace is that if you're always doing stuff, even if that stuff is like safe, even if it doesn't really have much lag, I think the more stuff that you do, the higher the chance that you do something that's not the correct option. Because like, it's really hard to be correct about things when you're just doing, like, you're picking so many options, you're pressing so many buttons, and like, even if it's safe, like, nothing in this game is unbeatable, you know? If there was, then everyone would just pick that option and win every set, and that would be the entire game. But there's counterplay to like literally everything, so you shouldn't play like there's no counterplay to your options, or that if you just play really fast and don't do a lot of things that don't have lag, that doesn't necessarily like win against someone who is trying to only do the correct options. Alright, I think that was a bit longer than I expected it to be. I'm kind of running out of breath, so I'm going to stop recording now. Alright, that's about it. Hope it helps. Thanks, guys.